Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be talking about Joe and I's 2024 way too early rookie IDP rankings. You're not going to want to miss it. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and check out our rookie mock draft. We did a Superflex 2024 offensive only rookie mock draft. We're in the Dynasty season. You're going to want to check that out. But now, here comes the main event.
Hike!
So, Joe, who do you have as your number one ranked player for this IDP group for 2024?
Yeah, right now, just going to base it on what I saw during the course of the season. And right now, my number one spot has to go to Jared Verse, defensive end from Florida State. Just really like the, athleticism he has, the bend to get around the edge. Felt like he was an impact player, a little bit of an older guy who's a fifth-year senior at Florida State, but just really likes what he brings to the table.
So for me, for my number one ranked IDP player for 2024, I also have defensive end Jared Verse as my number one player. Joe and I do not know each other's picks, so we are surprised by each other. Just was a you'll be as you're listening, but really like what I saw from him. Had 9 sacks this past season, 9 sacks the previous. He could have declared last year, decided to go back to try to win a national championship. Might have had Jordan Travis not gotten injured. Florida State's title hopes kind of went out the window. But when I watch the tape, Joe, he has a full arsenal of pass rush moves. He can bull rush you. He has the quickness to get around the tackle. He has an endless motor while pursuing the quarterback. I think he could be better in the run game. But out of all the pass rushers, I believe this guy may be the only one that can get 10-plus sack seasons on a regular basis. So in my view, he's the number one pass rusher in this draft.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think a guy who we'll talk about later, Latu is also interesting. But, injury concern there in the neck little scared me away from putting him in this number one spot.
I think it's completely fair. You'll hear my reasoning as well. So who do you have for number 2 for your IDP rankings?
Yeah, number 2, I'm going to go with linebacker Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I really think this guy's the best linebacker coming out. Obviously, he's got the bloodline of his dad. His dad was an absolute stud at the linebacker position. Played for a long time as well. But, I think just like that he can do it all. He's not just a one-trick pony. He can cover, and he's a rangy type player as well.
So for number 2 for my IDP rankings, I also have linebacker Jeremiah Trotter. So far you and I are going toe-to-toe here, Joe. I agree with you. I really liked the bloodlines. He was a former 5-star recruit coming to Clemson. He played there his entire career. He's not the most athletic linebacker, but he's very good in pursuit. And he honestly, when I watched him, Joe, he kind of reminded me of a less explosive Devin White because he had 6 sacks. He really has the ability to close in on the quarterback and those inside blitzes at the inside linebacker position. I doubt any linebacker is going to be taken in the first round in this NFL draft. I don't think it's that strong of a group. But, as we know, linebacker is usually king when it comes to your IDP leagues, mostly in your settings. So for me, I think Trotter is the best guy. And so I agree with you, Joe.
Yeah, really like just his competitiveness that he plays with as well. And, energy that he provides, that just feel like he's going to be an instinctual player.
All right, Joe. So who do you got for number 3 for your IDP rankings?
At number 3, I'm going to go with Jerzon Newton, inside player from Illinois. This guy was pretty impressive. He's not just a run stuffer either. He's able to get to the quarterback, provide pressures, and really get to the quarterbacks. As this past year, he was able to get 8 sacks, 28 hurries, and 43 total pressures. And when you play IDP and you're looking for a defensive tackle, you want a guy that's going to give you that sack upside, and I think he's got potential to be a good one.
So for number 3 for my Dynasty rookie rankings, I also have defensive tackle Jerzon Newton, 6'2", 295. Joe, I couldn't agree any more with what you said. He was a former 3-star recruit, but that Illinois defense, you got to remember last year we just saw Devin Witherspoon come from Illinois and did very well. That defense is really shaping up over there. And I will be so interested to see how he performs in the combine as it relates to his 10-second split time, because, man, for a massive man that he is so quick. He closes the gap just like that. I was super impressed. That's why he has, as many sacks as he has. The downside with him is he's a little undersized, but here's the thing. That hasn't stopped Aaron Donald, and that hasn't stopped Kalijah Cansey before him. I would not be surprised if he's a top 15 pick in the NFL draft. When it comes to defensive tackles, the big thing is, will they have any pass rush ability? He definitely has that. I debated having him 2 or 1. I really like this guy.
Yeah, I agree. I was considering him as well, a little bit higher, but just slotted those other guys and decided to put him at 3. Ironically enough, that you also put him there. So
yeah, so far our rookie rankings are going 1, 2, 3. How about number 4? Who do you got?
Yeah, at number 4, I'm gonna go with Braylon Trice. I like this guy as an edge rusher. Was pretty impressive at Washington. I like it. He's got the size and build, got mobility for his size as well. He's good at recognizing the blocks and sealing the edge as well. He's not the twitchiest guy, which you probably don't necessarily like coming from an edge rusher, but I just I feel like he plays with a high motor and gets to the quarterback.
So this is where we're going to diverge and part ways here. Because at number 4, I've got defensive end Dallas Turner. He's a tough one for me. 6'4", 242, former 5-star recruit who made an early impact becoming a freshman All-American. I wondered how he would perform after Will Anderson declared and went to the NFL draft this year. But when I watched the guy's tape, you can tell, he shifts from speed to power. Very, very good. But the thing is, I think he relies too much on his explosiveness to get around the offensive line. I'll be very curious as to what his 40 time is going to be, because I think his draft stock could be highly affected based on, how he performs there. To me, I think he lacks pass rush moves, and that's my concern for him. I think he also could be better in the run. So I'm a little concerned how he's going to stack up to NFL linemen and quarterbacks who I think have the ability to evade the sack, because a lot of times I felt like he was just getting them on the chase down with his quickness. So I think he's got a lot of potential, so that's why I have him here. But this is not a guy. I'm a little lower than him, I think, than most have him.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you, though. I do have him. I have him lower than you, obviously. But
even lower than I am.
Yeah, I'm even lower. I just feel like after he bursted on the scene as a freshman year, he's just been descending, and I don't really like guys that are descending heading into the draft here.
No, it's totally fair. So who do you got for number 5?
At number 5, even though this guy is risky, I just feel like he deserves to be here, and I'm going to go with Laiatu Latu. This guy, the injury scare with his neck injury, the fact that he was at Washington, has to take a medical year. He medically retired from college football. Then all of a sudden, UCLA doctors look at him, and he ends up playing. And for what, the doctors had a different opinion. He comes back, he plays, and he's been really productive. 12 and a half tackles for loss, 10 and a half sacks. And that was, that's some of the stats that he can put up. And he's got good size and athleticism, and he's got a good burst off the line, but that neck injury is kind of very, concerning to me.
Yeah, so for me at the 105 here, our 5th ranking, I'm going to go with linebacker Peyton Wilson, senior out of NC State, 6'4", 238. This guy just racked up the tackles this year. Over 12 games, had 138 total tackles with 69 solos, 6 sacks, and a forced fumble. He is a former 4-star recruit. He's been at NC State his entire career, but he was the Dick Butkus Award winner, which was, regarding the best linebacker, and then the Chuck Bednarik Award winner, which is the best defensive player in college football. When I watch this guy play, he's just a solid ball player. He isn't flashy by any means. I could see him having a similar rise that Jack Campbell did this last draft cycle. Jack Campbell was kind of just a vanilla guy. All of a sudden, the combine, he performed a lot better than people expected, and then he started rising up the charts. In my view, he doesn't do anything spectacular, but he's just solid in just a lot of areas. He can cover zone. He has a relentless motor. He's a solid tackler. I think in IDP leagues, he could become a darling of the draft pretty quick.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got him rated in my top 12 as well.
I'm just curious where you have him next. I guess not number 6.
Yes, I do have him at number 6. He's got the ability to not only, chase down guys, he also has the athleticism to hold up in coverage. And to me, that's important for the linebackers when you're in IDP. We saw that was one of the main reasons Shaq Leonard just couldn't get on the field anymore, was the fact that he couldn't handle the defensive coverage. And that's why EJ Speed got on the field more and ultimately just overtook his spot.
The one other thing is I know that he's dealt with some injuries, so I'd be curious to see, do some certain teams based on their medical checks. Is he taking off some teams' boards? We'll have to see. So for number 6 for me, I'm going to go with safety Tyler Nubin, senior out of Minnesota, 6'2", 210. Guy racked up 53 total tackles, 34 solo, and 5 interceptions. It was a 4-star recruit who played at Minnesota, like I mentioned. Look, I'm going to be curious to see how this guy tested the combine, because to me, this guy is a natural ball hawk. I think he can play at either safety position, but his range and instincts to me were very impressive. The way that he's able to get the ball to me is just incredible. The downside with Newman is that he isn't the most athletic DB. But I believe this guy's a ball player. He's one of those, there's so many different guys that's like, well, he didn't test as great, or he's not a huge tester, but there's just some people who they're just ballers. I think he fits the bill. I really like him a lot.
Yeah, he is a very good safety. I do like him a lot as well. Just like he's had a decent amount of pass breakups, got a couple of interceptions on the season. He's one of the better safeties, and I really think the best safety in this draft class.
All right, Joe, so who do you got for number 7?
At number 7, I'm going to go with Chris Braswell, the other edge rusher at Alabama. Like I mentioned, Dallas Turner is a little scary to me. He's descending at the important time, and I just like what Braswell's able to do, especially he's a guy, if you got a 3-4 linebacker, a lot of times they're asked to drop off and play some coverage, and he can do that and not only get after the passer, also has that ability. And he had 13 sacks in this year. He had 31 quarterback hurries, 10 hits, and he produced 54 total pressures as well. So that's why I liked his season stats in 2023, and that's why I give him the edge over Turner.
So for number 7, I'm going to go with Laiatu Latu, the senior out of UCLA. Joe, you talked about his unorthodox story, having a medical retirement and then coming back to UCLA after he was originally with Washington. He was the Ted Hendricks Award winner, which recognizes him as the nation's best defensive end, and the Lombardi Award winner, which honors a player's character. I just think the amount of adversity that Latu has overcome is just truly inspiring. And I think any defensive coach would want this guy on his team. The medical scares me, and we talked about this a little bit, Joe. I wonder if some teams will have him completely off their board because of the neck injury. There's no denying his pass rush prowess. I think that's one of his greatest strengths in my view. It's just his hand usage. I mean, you watch how he's able to rush the passer. The thing is, though, he's not the most athletic guy. He covers it based on in my view, his pass rush abilities and quickness. It offsets it for him. He sort of reminds me, and I don't know if you like this comparison or not, but kind of a more athletic AJ Epinesa. I just don't know if he's ever going to turn into this consistent, really solid player. I think he's just going to be like an Epinesa type of player who's good, just not great.
Interesting. sure hope he turns out better than Epinesa because I think I mean he's flashy, he's made some plays, but I think overall you would say that the you as a Bills fan, you would say that Epinesa has been a disappointment.
Yeah, for sure. So who do you got for number 8, Joe?
Yeah, number 8, I'm going with the guy that you talked about earlier, and that's Tyler Nubin, and just the next best safety to come out since Antoine Winfield Jr., who is also a Minnesota Gopher, but this past year, his fifth-year senior, he had 4 pass breakups, 5 interceptions, and he had a 17.5 quarterback rating when targeted. So it just gives you some of his coverage ability that he has.
Did I just hear you say that he's the best safety prospect you think since Winfield?
Well, they come out of Minnesota anyways.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I'm like, wow, that's high praise, Joe. I was thinking back to myself, like, what other safety prospects?
No, I was saying the comparison coming out of Minnesota.
No, it's a good comparison. So for number 8, I've got a different safety. I already talked about Newman, but I'm going to talk about Cameron Kinchens, the safety out of the University of Miami, 6'2", 205, at 59 total tackles, 40 solo, 5 interceptions. He's a former 3-star recruit, played his entire career at Miami University. When you watch this guy, he is a hard hitter and extremely explosive. This is your type of guy, Joe. You love defense. You want Kinchens on your team because this guy, he's a real thud. He knocks these guys down. I think his coverage skills are not as natural and as good as Nubin. So that's why I have Nubin ahead of Kinchens. But I really had a hard time picking one over the other. They're both, I think, very good. I do think that Combine could be a separator for him because I do think Kinchens is more possibly athletic. I think he could possibly surpass Newman, but I just think Newman's a better ball player.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but got to be careful with that, Steve. In today's NFL, these refs like to throw the flag on those and the helmet to helmet. As long as he knows how to, safely do it and within the parameters of the league, he should be all right.
Oh boy, here we go.
But yeah, he, like you mentioned, he's got some intangibles that you like, but he often lets up the big plays in coverage, which is a little bit concerning.
So who do you got for number 9, Joe?
And number 9, I'm going with edge rusher Dallas Turner. Even though I do like his other counterpart Braswell better, like you said, his potential and athleticism is there. I think he could continue to develop, and maybe a coach will figure out what made him so successful in his freshman year and kind of bring that back out of him.
Interesting. I'll kind of spill the beans here. I actually don't have Braswell ranked in my top 12, so I find that very interesting that you like Braswell better than Turner.
Hey, just looking at the stats and the way he performed, I think Braswell had more of an impact.
Fair enough. So for number 9, Joe, I'm going to be talking about a familiar player of yours that I'm surprised I haven't heard his name called by you. But I'm going to go with linebacker Junior Colson out of Michigan Wolverines. 6'3", 247, played 15 games, 89 total tackles, a 40 solo. Former 4-star recruit. He won the Lot Impact Player, which is a testament to his character on and off the field. I think Colson is an instinctive run defender. When I watch him, he honestly looks like a heat-seeking missile. He just goes, and then all of a sudden he really just brings them down. I'd be interested to see, when he's taking the NFL draft. I think landing spot could be a key aspect for him. I kind of project maybe he'd be a 3rd-round pick possibly. So you never know as far as when those linebackers are taken. Now this is where maybe you put me to the test, Joe. I'm not sure he'll be a 3-down linebacker on every team. And that's the thing that concerns me because he's such a good run defender, but not as good in coverage.
Yeah, I would agree with him. And that's why I don't have him in my top 12. Just for that simple fact that I don't think he's a 3-down player. Like you mentioned, he's absolutely a physical, player that you love to have, and he's a great against the run. But I do think, he's not the best coverage guy. Could kind of get lost out there. And that's his one downfall. Maybe he can improve that, but that's one of the reasons I don't have him in mind.
Very interesting. So who do you got for number 10?
Number 10, got a guy that you talked about recently, and going with safety, Cameron Kinchens. Even though I do like Newbin better, he had similar, he had 5 interceptions just like Newbin. Just the only thing that was different with him is the fact that, like I mentioned, how impressive Newbin's quarterback rating when targeted. Well, with Kitchens, when targeted, he let up a passer rating of 115.9. Like I said, he allows those big plays over the top. That's the one downfall, but you just, like you said, the way he plays physical, tough hitting is exactly what you want from a safety.
It's a good nugget there, Joe. I'm surprised that your hard hitting ways. I thought for sure that you would
Look,
have Kitchens ahead of him.
yeah, the way, but that's just not the way the NFL's played anymore.
Oh, I
And
know.
both of these guys are ball hawks, and like I said, they're just trying to take these guys out of the game.
So for number 10, I've got defensive tackle Byron Murphy II of the University of Texas, 6'1", 308. Over 14 games, he had 20 total tackles, 13 solo, 5 sacks. He's a former 4-star recruit. Murphy's got great penetration as a defensive tackle. He had the highest pass rush win rate. Say that twice. For defensive tackles at 20%. He has a great motor in my view, and I believe he has a high ceiling as a defensive tackle just because of his litany of pass rush moves. It's just a question of I don't see it really truly developing probably until 2, 3, 4 years because we know defensive tackles take a while to develop. I think it could take him those 3, 4 years. Newton, I feel differently. I think Newton might be able to step right in. But with Murphy, I think it might take a little bit for it to develop.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that.
So, Joe, who do you got for number 11?
Number 11, I'm going with linebacker Edgerrin Cooper. This past year as a senior, he had 58 tackles. In coverage, he had 2 pass breakups, no interceptions. And then he also, this is what I like about him, is the fact that he's a good blitzer. He had 27 total pressures, included 12 quarterback hurries, 5 quarterback hits, and an impressive 10 sacks. He's very good in pursuit. He also is good in coverage. I think that's the main difference why, I've got him in the top 12. Don't have, the fellow Junior Colson, like you mentioned. Definitely like some of the things that Cooper brings as far as his, athleticism and the fact that he's a rangy defender as well.
Interesting. Well, I may be talking about him here in a little bit, but not at number 11. Number 11, I've got defensive end Chop Robinson from Penn State. 6'3", 250, 15 total tackles, 4 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Chop was a highly regarded 5-star recruit, was at Maryland, and then transferred over to Penn State. Joe, I don't know what it is about these Penn State edge rushers because these guys are extremely explosive, but with very low production. Jason Oweh comes to mind, where I believe that guy had no sacks, but he was drafted in the first round just based on pure potential. Well, if Jason Oweh was drafted in the first round, then I can't see why Chop Robinson won't be. When you watch Chop Robinson, he is violent with his delivery, literally blows by offensive linemen. My problem is I feel he's a one-trick pony. To me, the pick is going to be a complete upside pick because I do think Robinson's potential is immense. It's going to really come down to the coaching staff. Can they, come alongside this guy, coach him up to become all that he was going to be with all his potential? So I think he's very intriguing, but I also could see him really as a huge bust.
Yeah, he's interesting. I considered putting him in there. I had another guy kind of edge him out. But, it's just interesting. Like you mentioned, all these guys that the Penn State's had as far as edge rushers and highly drafted and just, outside of like Micah Parsons, just doesn't seem like
Which he
they've.
was really a linebacker too. I mean, he wasn't, you know what I mean? Like he kind of
Right,
played
yeah.
all over the field. But you had Arnold Ebiketie, who had showed some flashes. You got Oweh, now you got this guy. But this guy's the most twitched up defensive end. I mean, he's very twitchy.
Yeah, for sure. And I do like he's got a good motor, but like you said, I mean, he's famous for the chop, and that's kind of his pass rush move. Outside of that, you like them to see if he can develop other things. And I think with the right team and the right coaches that can develop those other skill set, he could be a very good player.
Exactly. It's a one-trick pony. So, Joe, who do you got as your 12th player in our IDP rookie rankings?
Yeah, number 12, the guy I ultimately decided ahead of him is a guy that you've talked about, and that's Byron Murphy. He's ultimately the guy that edged out Chop Robinson here in my rankings, and it's just for his athletic skills. The guy's 300 pounds, but yet he's been clocked at 18 miles per hour, and he just has a great powerlifting skills. Plays with great leverage at the point of attack, and that's definitely something that he needs. And then he's another guy at the defensive tackle position, that interior pass rush, and you got to have that at defensive tackle.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, I definitely see the potential with him. He's definitely an athlete at the position. I do wonder how much he's benefited from being next to that mammoth of a man of T'Vondre Sweat. Based on just how big he is, does that just open things up for Byron Murphy? But I do like the call.
Yeah. Do you feel like similarly Jordan Davis benefited from a guy like Jalen Carter, next to him at Georgia?
Well, probably vice versa, right? Carter benefited from Jordan Davis being next to him, but Jalen Carter is still
Well, I'm
really
just saying
good.
because I feel like Carter's had more of an impact than Davis at the NFL level.
Sure, yeah, I agree. There's no doubt about that. I'm just saying that because of guys like Davis and guys like Sweat, they carry so much attention just because how big they are. So as a
Right.
result, you can't just you gotta be mindful of them. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, it definitely makes sense. I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. It's always amazing that these guys, 300 pounds as big as they are, can move as fast as they do.
So at number 12, my last pick here in my IDP rookie rankings is going to go to linebacker Andrew Cooper. You talked about him, Joe, the linebacker out of Texas A&M, former 4-star recruit. Here's the thing for me. He's a rangy linebacker that I believe he hits, when he hits, it packs a punch. But here's my concern. I think he's somewhat of a tweener. You saw him rushing from the edge a great deal, and then he also plays inside linebacker. I think he's going to test really well at the combine. I just feel he's sort of positionless. We'll see if he can play it inside linebacker. He's a little bit smaller of a linebacker. I think he needs to bulk up. So as a result, I just am concerned because we've seen guys who are positionless. I'm not saying he's Isaiah Simmons, but you see guys like that, and because they don't have a position, sometimes they just can't find a natural fit. So as a result, I see why people would like him, but I'm concerned, especially with where he goes. He would be a guy I would want to make sure, like if he went to let's say the Vikings and Flores, has a big linebacker background, right? Then I'm saying, okay, I feel confident that they know what they're going to do with him. They have a game plan for him. But if he goes somewhere else, I'm like, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, we definitely have seen that. The Cardinals don't really know how to handle these tweener guys. But
No.
I mean, I think the difference with Isaiah Simmons though too is like Simmons would play safety in that. Like,
Oh no, I know. It's not. They're not the same player. I'm gonna say, but
yeah,
even like Zaven Collins, though, right? I mean, Zaven
right.
Collins, the
Another Arizona
linebacker,
Cardinal guy.
switched to edge. He's done okay, but I'm just saying that sometimes when you've got sometimes that linebacker, Micah Parsons has done great, but Micah Parsons could have fell into that category very quickly.
I feel like though with Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys and Dan Quinn has done a disservice by just making him an edge rusher. I liked him so much better when defenses didn't know where this guy was going to line up. Is he going to line up at inside linebacker and blitz, or is he going to also come around the edge? I feel like they've almost taken away
Made him
some.
one dimensional, basically.
Yeah, you basically took a guy that could line up, and it's not like they have great inside linebackers. I mean, they had Bell, who's small and just got pushed around. So I think they've almost kind of taken away from Micah Parsons because he was so dominant coming out as rookie when he was just lining up in different places. And I hope somebody doesn't make the same mistake with this guy.
That's an interesting comparison there. So that does it for our IDP rookie rankings. Way too early, may I say. Combine's coming up, draft is coming up. Our rankings are gonna definitely change and shake shake around here. I'll say this, in closing here, I'm not that impressed with this defensive group. I do not think it's the strongest defensive class. Probably one of the weaker ones we've seen, probably since I want to say the 2021 draft, where Micah Parsons was the headliner. But I wouldn't be surprised. Which might be a record. I don't know, other than maybe Dallas Turner, who you and I aren't biggest fans of. I don't know if we'll see a defensive player taken within the top 15, which I don't know when's the last time that's happened.
We'll see what happens with the different rumors, but I mean, right now the most mocks have, Turner going to like around pick 8 with the Falcons. So we'll see. I think even though it's not the strongest class, somebody will go defense within the top 15 because eventually all those offensive guys are gonna wear out, and it's like the next best offensive player. Do you get a impact defensive player, even though that it's not the best draft class? And just so happens that this draft class, the offense is just where it's at. I mean, especially the quarterbacks. I mean, you're talking about top 3 picks could all be quarterbacks, or maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. sneaks in there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this wide receiver class, too, is extreme, probably the deepest we've seen in decades. So it'll be really fun to watch the draft coming up. But we are a new channel. So if you have enjoyed this video, we do ask you to please like the video. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, because we do videos on a weekly basis. We try to do 3 a week, so you're not going to want to miss it because we don't stop during the off season. We keep it going. We continue with those videos throughout the entire year. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.